team? Coach Ranieri. Coach Ranieri, he was on Kennedy's staff last year as the defensive coordinator. He's been there the past 3 years. And then the football squad last year went 6-5. They lost the first round of districts to Upper Dublin. It was a good game, 40-20 loss, but the football squad's been progressing upwards, getting better every year, and then hopefully Coach Ranieri will keep it that way. So with that being said, what are some goals you got this year?
I would say the number one thing for me, and the guys have heard this, so if any of you guys are actually listening or watching this, the goal is, to me, number one, I would say there's two things. It's 1A and 1B. From the football perspective, I think we got to work on us. I think that's number one thing, we got to work on us. When if you guys are at the games or you're watching it, some of the stuff, like there's stuff that with any sport, that if you don't really know what's happening, you don't see actually what they're doing well or what they're not doing well. There's a lot of, it's sports, so there's a lot of stuff that I would like to clean up. And I think first and foremost, that's like we got to work on us. Yeah. Not just X's and O's, but I also feel like this is kind of where 1B comes from. I also think that the next big thing too is we need we need a cultural shift. We need a mindset shift. And to me, that doesn't just include within the team. That includes a lot of the mindset that goes with things around the team. Even means like school culture, even going a little bit further, community-wise and what we're looking at. And in terms of like we just need people to, be there, be supportive, and be in. Because the goal is to, get everyone going, put a quality product out on the field. We know who we're chasing.
Yeah. All right. So our next couple episodes, we're only inviting guests that have been on the Collegeville Bakery marquee. I'm kind of joking here, but how did that feel?
It came out of nowhere. I actually got a text message on a Friday after school asking if I could stop over, and as soon as I got the text message, I knew immediately what it was. Yeah. It was actually that day I actually attended one of our baseball games. We were home playing Springford, and then Mrs. Ranieri was also there. And then I told her what was happening. She made fun of me. And then we also decided, since I was going over, that we might as well just order dinner there. Mm-hmm. But no, it was one of those things of where that sign's a powerful thing. Because that entire weekend when I was going out places, like you were on that sign yesterday. Yeah. And the common line was, it's not official till you make the Collegeville Bakery sign.
Yeah.
So that happened a lot over that weekend.
That's awesome. And then you played here when you went to high school, Wall of Fame candidate back in near the main gym. Really, what made you make the decision to take the head coach role this year?
It was a series of things. I can say, and this is going to sound worse than I wanted to, but I can say the decision wasn't necessarily like, it came open and let's go. That was not the decision-making process. It actually probably took me about a week to do it. There's a lot that goes into it that parents, players, just you don't see. There's you're a baseball guy. Like there's a lot that like Coach Spielbeck does. You guys never see what it is. So time commitment's a scary thing. The fact that outside of these walls, I do have a family at home. I do have kids. I got to get them places. But it's kind of one of those of where I'm at in my teaching career, as a parent, the age of my kids, which a lot of you know who they are. It like timing wise, it's actually going to work out pretty good. So it was kind of one of those times of where I think this is it. And one of the biggest things I think any sport, one of the best things you can do, and any high school coach will tell you this, that things tend to go better when the coach is in the building. That by no means is that a knock on any coach of the previous few years, but like it is different because they see you, and unfortunately for the ones that are more of the knuckleheads, I'll call it, they also know they can't get away with stuff like they could other ways.
All right, looking back on last season, you guys had some incredible leaders, Colin O'Neill, DJ Ballinger, Perillo, Conover. Have you decided some of the returning players who will be your leaders this year?
Right now, no. However, there are some names. I'm not telling anybody,
Yeah.
but there are names that do come to mind. But right now, the biggest thing that I'm doing is I am more of a actions speak louder than words person. So one of my other big messages too is like we can talk about these things as much as we want to talk about them, but the fact of the matter is that like part of that cultural shift is we need kids to actually stand up and to do it. I will say that at some of the meetings that I've had with the players and with the parents, one of the first things I shouldn't say one of the first, but one of the top things, a message that's been reiterated multiple times is I'm a dude who's not exactly sold on the fact that I think seniors have to be captains.
Okay.
I'm a guy who, typically I'm going to assume with most sports, sophomores, you got to get this, sophomores, you got to get that type of stuff. I'm not sold on that either. I'm actually leaning more toward, I believe our seniors should be the ones taking the stuff out to the field, setting up the practice drills, cleaning up the locker room. Because if they can do it, nobody is too good to do some of those things. So I'm looking at actions louder than words here.
And then that's a great point. But on the defensive side, the D lineman, Shane Corn last year had a great year, led the team in sacks, lost a guy like Kyle O'Neal on the line, and then Nico behind him, Vinny. Who are some guys that you really look to step up next season?
I'm hoping Shane picks up where he left off and continues to grow.
Yeah.
The good thing is, offensively and defensively, one of our strengths should be our offensive and defensive lines. A lot of guys who did get playing time and experience last year, and hopefully they can kind of maximize that this year. Defensively, there are going to be some first-time starters, but the way that I tried to do things last year and getting prepared for this year, because you're always
looking ahead.
Yeah, I'm never okay with just where we're at because
sure.
It's one of those where we got to do something to get us ready. I got to do something to get those kids ready for the next step. So, like in at linebacker, for example, like Alex Shaw was kind of in and out for us last year, gave us some good minutes. Really looking for him to cement that role this year. And then Nick Fazio, hopefully he can stay healthy for us. He had an ankle last year that kept plaguing him. And then even younger players like Andrew Augustine, I'm looking for some of these guys to kind of step up. Because any varsity sport, again, I would say any coach will probably tell you, your biggest growth is from 10th to 11th grade. Mm-hmm. But that's the one that we can't always predict, size-wise, strength-wise, or even and I'll say football IQ.
Spring practices or workouts fairly common in high school. Do you guys do anything like that? And if so, what are you doing?
Right now, as of this past week, we just ended about a 6-week Monday night install. And then right now, when we come back from the long weekend after Memorial Day, we actually have a 6-practice mini camp that we're getting ready to gear up for.
Okay.
So we're already in it.
It's awesome. All year round, man. That's what it sounds like. With the offensive side, looking at our QBs, we got Colby, who was the starter last year, and then who split some snaps with him, Nick Remish, and then another guy who got some snaps, Caleb Schultz. Looking at those three guys, what do you expect out of those guys next year?
Caleb's coming off a pretty bad injury with his ankle. I still think technically he is not able to go 100% yet. And then in terms of Colby and Nick right now is in baseball, so we'll see what happens when baseball ends and kind of where he goes, because I know summer baseball is a big thing. Colby's been at most things, and it's kind of one of those of where, competition's always a good thing, and realistically, probably the biggest thing we're looking at is with some of the new things that we're installing and new ways that we're doing things, they give themselves the best opportunity by showing up the most that they can, so that they gives, they know what's happening.
Okay. Have you? There you go. All right. Have you built your staff yet, or found any coaches?
Staff is done. That was one of the things I was worried about the most in the time frame that it happened, because it's a difficult process, especially late in the game.
Yeah. Can you name your 2 offensive and defensive coordinators?
So right now what we're looking at is I'll be running our offense.
Okay.
And then some of you might remember from your Skyview days, Mr. Pinella.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Pinella is actually, now that lacrosse is over, Mr. Pinella will be coming up and joining us, and he'll be kind of working with our defense.
Retiring as a ref?
At least I think he's still going to try to ref on Saturdays.
Okay, there you go.
But for the most part, that's what we're looking at. And then for those of you guys know, Mr. Gettler, he's back with us. Former head coach, former Methacton alum, player, and head coach, Mr. Lepre, who even though he's retiring from teaching, he's going to come back and kind of be like our O-line, D-line guy. Coach Bill Baker, who's been with us for the past few years, is going to stay. And Coach Larry West, who was working with our D-backs and our receivers, he'll also be back.
Awesome. And then talk about coaches. You played a long career through high school, through college. Looking at a coach, who's a coach that's really inspired you to shape the way you coach?
For me, you actually take a lot from everyone.
Okay.
You guys are too young to remember, but Coach Marinkoff, who for a long time pretty much was the Methacton head coach from pretty much the 70s into the early 2000s. That's who I played for, and when I got back into coaching here 20-something years ago, he was still the head coach. So he was a guy who, it was one of those, he gave you crap, he yelled at you, but you also never wanted to disappoint him. And then actually Coach Lepre and Coach Cardillo, both I coached, I played for them and then coached with them, and they were always pretty integral in, teaching me, and then it was actually even pretty cool when you come back to coach with them that they don't treat you like their player anymore. But a lot of the stuff, it's stupid, and as the school year ends, and especially for seniors, when you start to take a look back at stuff that your coaches and teachers and parents did for you, and you'll have this sense of thankfulness, and I very much appreciate what those guys did for me.
All right, to finish things off, if there's one thing that your players can go out learning from their years at Methacton football, what do you hope that is?
The kids graduating?
Yeah.
I would say ultimately the biggest thing, and as you guys go through your high school career and as it ends, one of the biggest things is you only have a short window.
Yeah.
You only have a 4-year window. And as much as it might not feel like it now, and I know this is old people talk, but it goes fast. So realistically, make the most of it. Competing's great, winning's great. You guys just won the pack for baseball. Congrats. You will always have that. Nobody can take that from you. And when you're old and you guys are bald and you've put on multiple pounds, it's one of those things you can still talk about that. So even though in terms of as a coach, the wins and losses, obviously that's something that I want to see get better and compete. But the reality is we just want to try to make this a good experience, value the hard work, because at the end of the wins and losses, they're great. But ultimately at the end of the day, you got to look yourself in the mirror. And if you, at the end of it, if you can say, we could have lost and I gave everything I had, you have those good relationships. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. And the one thing I'll add to that too is, especially with me getting this position, the number of former teammates of mine in high school, the number of former players of mine, and the outreach that I've had in terms of, saying congratulations and they're looking forward to it, is the fact that it's still years, 20 plus years later, to a lot of people, it still means something. So that's just, I just want to keep that all in mind and try to get this thing going in a direction that we're all happy with.
Awesome. Best of luck this season. Expecting big things, and let's go.
Good luck.
Work's starting already.